Alright guys, TacticalRab here and I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Optic Gaming as an organisation are on their longest ever Call of Duty tournament winning drought. This weekend is a perfect opportunity to finally set that right. Dashy back in Toronto, FaZe certainly are the favourites for this tournament, but are Optic ready enough to do so? They certainly believe they are. Dashy has other things on his mind though potentially. Very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, have a look at this. Here we are on Subbase, a map that isn't played especially often, although Optic do tend to like it. I do wonder whether Optic and FaZe would play this map at some point, because I have a theory that FaZe may have been cooking up something on Subbase. This is entirely unfounded, but we know that Subbase Hardpoint has been a map that FaZe have struggled at so far this season, and it's kind of known that, you know, they're not good at it, and they haven't played it, like, at all. But are FaZe actually bad on Subbase Hardpoint? Are they still bad on it? Kind of have a hard time believing that. My feeling is they may have improved substantially behind the scenes, and I wouldn't be that surprised if, you know, they play some sort of match this tournament where it's either against Optic or against a big team and they pull out the Subbase. They maybe don't ban it and they allow someone else to pick it into them, and they kind of back themselves to win it. Now, Optic are really good on Subbase, so I don't know if it would be the wisest to actually play Optic on it, but there's maybe other teams that FaZe could throw a Subbase in and think they could win. But anyway, it is a great map for Optic. Pred's unreal on this map, and this is another spot here that maybe Shotzzy has to look at and consider, because, you know, I've not really seen this one before. Speaking of the FaZe boys, this is how the fans voted for the top 5 SMG players. We saw the ARs the other day. Simba and Beezy are on top, and I think understandably so. Shotzzy number 3, which I think is also justified. We'll see how he performs on this LAN, because that's always the talk with Shotzzy. Online, he's always phenomenal, and he's still very impactful on LAN, but, you know, the way that he plays can be, I wouldn't say problematic, but it can be slightly weaker on LAN than online, I think, generally. Not to say he's an onliner, you know, he's won the World Championship in Halo on LAN back in the day, and obviously he's won LAN events as well. But it is just worth keeping an eye on this event, especially because, you know, when Simba and Beezy are number 1, number 2, and Shotzi's number 3, but, you know, Pred isn't here, Hydra's up here at number 4, Kalinix is here at number 5, so good kind of parity maybe across the top 4 teams. But I think that is one of the key points in terms of certainly how Pred goes on to play this weekend, because he's been great in the final couple of matches they played online, but Pred's performance against FaZe this season has been less impactful than would be optimal, and FaZe are just going to be so hard to beat, and Optic will almost certainly have to beat FaZe if they want to win this tournament, but it's not impossible, and they are in obviously a great position to at least make it to that match. And you've got to think that eventually this kind of win streak that's being had here is going to come to a close. Not sure why that was on the screen, but anyway, it's gone now. Zinni and Zuma kind of getting into it last night, which I thought was pretty entertaining. Also worth noting, because I just saw this floating around the Reddit, the last time Drazah was in Toronto, we had the FU Drazah chants coming out big time, right? You know, it feels a long time ago now, really, when we had this Toronto team with Scrappy, Hixie, Insight, and Kleenex, of course. There was at the Toronto event last year, and then Thieves with Envoy, Kenny, Drazah, and Octane, which kind of feels worlds away, right, from what we have in the league today. But this was, of course, only at this event last year. Okay, Major 5 compared to Major 3, so not even a year ago, really. But Drazah wasn't an especially well-liked player in the community at the time. Of course, we know that he plays that role in the scene here today, and certainly against Scrappy, right? We know that Scrap and Drazah have a lot of beef now, not only from a personal, well, mainly from a personal level, and other things as well, of course, outside of the game that we've mentioned over the last couple of months. In Toronto, there's going to be a lot of Toronto fans. They're one of the most supported organizations, and FaZe have a lot of fans, of course, but, you know, they're not necessarily going to be here at this tournament. They're going to be drowned out, absolutely. And this is when, if the FU Drazah chants were bad last year, I can't even imagine what we are going to be seeing on stage this year. And if Drazah goes on to win, I mean, yeah, this is why I want a Toronto FaZe series, because I don't think we had one in Miami, right? And we haven't really had one since there's been some nice, juicy drama. So, yeah, I guess we'll stay tuned for that. But this weekend, there's a load of interesting storylines. These were some that Brian Stats highlighted the other day, but this is the one that I kind of wanted to look at, right? Because going into this tournament last year in Toronto, Optic had just gone 5-0 again, right, in the online qualifiers. And they were looking good. They'd gone 5-0 the previous set of online qualifiers. They then came like second of that event or whatever. They then went 5-0 the next set of online qualifiers. And then they came top 12 in Toronto. It was a really rough tournament for Optic here last year. Dashy, Shotzzy, Hook, and Ghosty, of course, was the team of 4. They went down, I think, to Miami in the winners bracket and to Thieves maybe in the losers bracket. Something like that. And they bail out of the tournament early. But it's still been 13 tournaments since Optic's last victory. The first tournament in Vanguard way back in the day in Texas. this. And, you know, as time progresses, people are like, yeah, that's the longest drought in their organization's 15-year history. So is this the weekend that they are going to be in position to turn it around, right? Because it's not like they're in pole position, because FaZe obviously are the team to beat. But, you know, it's tough to imagine that FaZe are just going to win everything, and they're going to win every single series from now to the end of the season. It's very difficult to beat FaZe, but it is possible to beat FaZe, and Optic are, I think, comfortably better than every other team right now. I think Optic Toronto would be a very interesting series, but I do think against everybody else, if Optic turn up and play their game, they shouldn't have too many difficulties, especially the way they put down Thieves on the weekend online, yes, but I think it was very impressive, and Pred was playing with a lot of confidence. That, I think, is the key to me. Pred is like a massive confidence player, and he's been the one focal point of their series this year so far against FaZe that's somewhat underperformed. I think Kenny's been their best really in those series. Dashy hasn't been great either, to be fair, as well. So, you know, there's a couple of players that need to step up here. This is their franchise card, by the way, considering Huntsman as well. So looking back on the days where Pristini and Gunless and, you know, Arcetes, of course, Envoy and Scump were on that roster. And then over the last few years, even General, right? Money B didn't make it on here, but he was the substitute for that team way back in the Huntsman days early on. Then it became Optic Chicago, Envoy was there, and then of course Optic Texas for the last couple of years for various players until what they have today. 3 tournament wins, 2 of which were the Huntsman way back in Modern Warfare 19, but you know, some of those tournament wins were maybe not full majors as we see today, so we say. And then of course there was the first event of Vanguard, but since then not quite been the best, and you know, they've only placed 3rd at the World Championship, which they've done once over the last several years. You know, not made a Champs Grand Finals in a very long time, since 2017 of course, when they actually won it. So this year might be a different story. Here are the Optic guys, of course, out there in Toronto today and yesterday, getting ready for the weekend. But I did want to mention this, right? So we saw the other day, Dashy did the 20 versus 1, you know, 20 girls, 1 Dashy on stream. Methods put it together, and he had a good time. I think everyone had a good time watching it. And of course, that came to a conclusion. And that Lillian girl, she was victorious, right? Queen of Gotham, all this. We'll get onto her in a second. But then Dashy's like, hey, Ziddy, I'm thinking maybe Toronto edition, you know, 1v20 out here. Thoughts? You know, what do you mean? And, you know, maybe Dashy saw this tweet here from Piers and was like, actually, yeah, you know what, it's time to run it back again. So, yeah, we'll see if this goes through, but I also do wonder whether, you know, is Dashy distracted? Is he locked in, right? Because people talk about all, like, you know, the buffs that you get from, you know, Pokimane buff from Gunless back in the day. That obviously wasn't especially serious, but, you know, entertaining nonetheless. And Ziddy's like, yeah, damn right, let's run this ASAP. So then this Lillian girl, of course, who won the thing with Dashy the other day, was like, oh, come on, like, are we serious right now? She's been kicked out of Gotham. Queen of Gotham's gone because Dashy's, like, fumbled the bag or something. So what do you guys think about this? Because I think Dashy did message her and follow up at some point, but I don't really know if it necessarily went anywhere. And at the same time, like, Dashy's got other priorities, you know what I mean? Like, sure, maybe you could run the 1v20 Toronto edition, but if I'm his teammates, I'm thinking about Brandon, like, let's lock in for this weekend real quick. Like, we got to win this event because they are in a great position to do so. Yes, they were 6-1 in the qualifiers. FaZe was 7-0, and FaZe are the favourites. And maybe that's not a bad position to be in, right? Not going in as favourites. Because I think last year, because Optic had gone undefeated in the qualifiers, there was lots of feeling that last year was going to be the event in Toronto where Optic, you know, finally won because they'd got a couple of seconds, and then they were going into event another, you know, good split, expected to really take it to the top. Optic are expected to do well this tournament, but they're not necessarily expected to win it. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on with this whole Lillian Queen of Gotham stuff, but wishing Dashy the best for this weekend in and outside of the game. And this is pretty funny between Dashy and TJ, of course, because they play in winners round 1 of this tournament, Optic versus the Carolina Royal Ravens. And as TJ says, yeah, start ripping some bots, bud. You know, you better get warmed up for the series that we are about to play tomorrow as it is. And we'll have a look at the bracket for that in just a second. Before we get there, I wanted to share a clip here from the Optic guys. This was when they played Thieves on the Subbase the other day. And just to listen to some of the comms here, right? Because certainly the energy was getting brought. And Pred loves this map. As we said at the start of the video, right, would FaZe play Subbase? I think they probably would. I honestly think they may consider it at some point. Maybe it is just a perma veto. My feeling is that they've been practicing it in scrimmers for months and they're absolutely frying on every other map. So why wouldn't they be frying on Subbase to some teams? Maybe. Would they risk it against Optic? You know, I don't necessarily think that they would. And yeah, Pred loves this.
I'm living. Enemy tunnel burst. Behind the box of tunnel. I'm living. On the box of tunnel. We can split box on the tunnel.
Top rows behind you guys. Top rows.
Tunnel dead. Nice. I'm
We're missing one in the back. We're missing one.
Yeah,
So get them.
look tunnel.
I have tunnel. I have tunnel. I have tunnel.
Almost
I've
P5
all
now.
server.
I've all tunnel.
Tunnel right, boss. Tunnel right. One server.
P5
man.
now.
Server.
Tunnel, one
two-
shot.
Alright, two server, both weak.
One is tunnel.
Both server, both inside server. Joe.
I can't see you got tunnel.
Look servers. Last two
Tunnel.
server. Last two server.
I just
I push. I push. Stay down.
I think they went long.
Hey, man, right
Right done.
Alright, shot, bros.
last one.
Tunnel. That's good shit, bros.
Fucking go, baby.
Good map, AJ.
Yeah, I run
That's your
this
shit,
map. I don't know why
that's your
people
shit,
play.
that's your shit.
I run this
Shit,
map. I
baby.
don't know why
Love
people
this
play.
shit.
Thank you for that shit for the whole
I've been
split.
begging. I've been begging.
Yeah, he's like, can we
We had to give AG one on that shit, bro.
Please.
Watch your push in a second. Watch your close up.
Hey, we spawn close, spawn close. I ain't shooting cross.
What's in our launch?
I'm one sitting on his face.
What guys? They search.
I push right now.
They search nasty. 1 HP.
Run
Running up the street.
Missing one in
Laundry,
mannequin.
laundry.
We need to kill that guy.
I'm looking for him.
In laundry,
Another shot.
He's still on me.
Nice shot, bro.
I'm point. Where is he?
I didn't hit him.
Watch out,
Watch out.
Nice
Holy
shot.
fuck.
Jesus Christ. Holy fuck.
Holy
Good
Fuck,
shit.
my timings are now.
Oh my god. How many damage you guys have?
Holy fuck, dude.
How much damage?
45.
I had
Jesus.
6K.
How much do you have, man? 7.
Good clutch.
6K. Bro, I couldn't kill anyone.
Holy fuck, dude.
He's old. Yeah, P3.
Fucking like
Out of the back.
Yeah, it's again.
I'm playing this aggressive. We can be pillars right now.
Shut
up! Dead.
Say, Jay.
Let's
Let's
go,
get front. He threw it in.
Thanks, guys. One
Hey,
could be mid.
couches.
Couches, brothers.
Couches. That channel, couches.
Yeah, I'm sitting left.
The couches in the corner. Shit on.
Ah,
Shit,
okay.
Ken.
One mid. I'm not blocking.
Middle.
I
I'm not
hear you.
blocking.
Sure.
They're down,
Middle.
get it.
I close the doors. I close the doors.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Go for it, Jay.
I fell.
One minute, me.
Nothing else. Nothing else.
Hey!
Nothing else.
One shot. Oh
Watch
my
out.
Yeah, I
God.
fell.
I'm hiding together. I'm literally hiding.
I get one. 3 on time. 1 in P1.
The channel me, bro.
Who's P1? Who's
one.
down there and low out.
Yo,
Alright.
watch out. Watch out. P1 desk. Yo, Joe's going like Vine steps.
Behind us, Grim.
Let's
Last
Get
again.
time. Bye. P1. I'm challenging. Let's get P1.
Down,
Bro,
down.
Vines, one shot. Vines, close right. One shot.
Cha.
I ran in. Dead. P1 on me. P1.
Come on, Rose.
Rows. All rows.
Fucking go.
Nice. Good fucking shit, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Yo, just run this shit. Yeah.
You could just tell in practice that ounce is staying on as soon as they spawned
this
into
one's
that
better.
one. Right off the rip, you go for that. And then everything after that is all a chain effect. But I'm pretty sure that's actually going to be our second 100-point club on the year.
So this, of course, is the way the bracket is looking on the weekend. FaZe Heretics, Thieves Subliners, Ultra Surge, Optic Ravens. The loser of these games drops down respectively, right? So the loser of the top one plays Legion. The loser of Thieves Subliners plays Breach. And then we go down and down from there. Also worthy of note that in the second round of losers, that's when the bracket flips. So, because you can imagine that if Miami were to beat Legion and then to beat Thieves, for example, and let's say, New York were to lose to FaZe, or New York were to beat FaZe, which isn't going to happen probably, but who knows, then FaZe would drop down and play Miami again, which is not really how they want it to be done. So they flip the bracket at this point. So the loser of this top game goes down to the bottom side, the loser of this game goes to the top side, and you guys know the rest from there. These are the games in order, by the way, on that Thursday. So tomorrow, this is going to be the schedule. Thieves Subliners to kick off the day, then FaZe Heretics, then Toronto Surge, and then Optic versus Ravens to close out the day. So look, they are the bottom of the bracket, but sometimes you don't see this be the case. But no, the league has decided that once again Optic will play the final series of the day, and yes, 6 p.m. Eastern local time. So yeah, it's 1:30 start as has usually been the case, and of course then there'll be 5 games on the Saturday and the Friday, as has been the case for quite some time. So intrigued to your predictions for this event in the comment section below. Who's going to win? Who's going to be second? Who's going to be the MVP? Look, it's difficult to look past FaZe. It's difficult to look past, Simp as the MVP of the event. I think Ultra have a chance to potentially win, but I think, Envoy and Insight have been a little bit too much of liabilities for me to predict them particularly confidently. I think Optic can certainly do so. The biggest bust is interesting because there's only a couple of candidates here. It's got to be one of the top 4 teams because any other team isn't expected to do much. So they can't be a bust. It could be Optic because Optic was certainly the bust of this event last year. Could be FaZe, but I mean, let's be real. They're on a crazy win streak. New York are the most likely, you would say, for bust. And if they were to lose to FaZe in the second round, or if they were to even lose to Thieves in the first round, they would go down to a losers bracket where, top 8, top 6 would be, pretty poor underperformance from those guys if that was to occur. But man, what a weekend it's going to be. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.